Necromunda! Hey guys, Gus here. As you can see, I've got my trucker outfit on. I'm taking a page of Chris's book from Mini Wargaming, because apparently I've got a bit of a trucker mouth. So there we go, dressed like a trucker. Okay, so today we're going to be reviewing the wargame Necromunda. Very special game. Frankly, I think a very good game actually. So as you can see, released by Games Workshop. I believe it was released, that's right, early, well this book was printed in 2003, but the game was certainly released earlier than that, I believe. And what it is essentially a skirmish game. It's a Warhammer 40,000 skirmish game based on the gangs of hive cities. So you've probably read in the background of the lore if you know Warhammer 40,000, and if you don't, I'll explain anyway. You've got these huge, so it's obviously it's set in the 41st millennium, and you've got these huge sort of hive cities that stretch dozens of kilometers across, many kilometers high, and they're just, you know, crammed with millions of people, and inside these huge cities, you know, generally built on these toxic planets, is obviously millions of inhabitants, but there's almost like a built-in caste system. The higher you are in a hive, the more sort of affluent you are, and the more wealthy you are, and the higher your place in society. And the lower down you go, because of the pyramidal sort of shape of the thing, you get more people, and naturally that's where the poorer people are, and the lower down you go, the worse off it gets really. And in terms of the societal sort of decay as well, it gets worse and worse the lower down you go. So eventually you get to the bottom, and they call that the sump. You go one up from the bottom, and you've got what's called the Underhive, and that's like below ground level. And this is essentially gang battles in the Underhive. So you go all the way down. You've got this ruined, decrepit, huge, vast, city-like underground structures that are decaying and falling apart, and there's sewage and waste everywhere. There's nuclear fallout. There's collapsed sections of the Underhive. There's mutants crawling around everywhere. There's gangs fighting. People are struggling to survive, and that's what Necromunda is. It's a really cool game. Now, guys that have seen my videos before will remember that I spoke about a difference between, in Warhammer 40,000, a difference between 2nd edition and 3rd edition, and that is that the 2nd edition is a lot less serious in its nature, and the rule system, in my opinion certainly, and a lot of other people's opinion, was a lot better. It wasn't as simplified as 3rd edition, and Necromunda essentially borrows on 2nd edition rules. Now, and it's reflected, you know, naturally in the way the game plays. Okay, there's a few tweaks to it, but it's essentially a 2nd edition based system. So the way it works is obviously it's a D6 based system. You've got your gangs that run around. You pick a gang, you build a gang from scratch in terms of you have a points allotment. You build your gang, you buy them equipment, you buy gang members, you buy them equipment, and then you play out games in the Underhive. And you can play campaigns. They've got rules in here for campaigns, and they've also got, you can just sort of play one-off games. Now, with this game, things like cover saves, you don't get cover saves. There's no, like, if you're behind cover you get a 6+ save or 5+ save. It detracts from shooting. So if you're trying to shoot somebody, then it detracts from your roll you need to hit, so it's more difficult to hit people. Armor doesn't really factor in. I mean, you can get armor for people, but a lot of the time it's taking cover that helps more. I mean, you've got gang fighters. I mean, come on, you know, these guys don't get armor. And it's so funny in this game as well, because like the thing is if you look at the Warhammer 40,000 universe, you've got like the revered bolt gun. And this bolt guns aren't that great because they need maintenance. And this is the thing, right? Is I don't like D6 based systems in general. Like, I think they're flawed. And the thing with this is it works. And the reason it works is because you can imagine gangsters running around in the Underhive where things are going wrong all the time, like really badly wrong, like weird crap happens and shit goes wrong all the time. So a D6 really random system works for this, okay? It makes sense. Things like bolt guns, they just jam. Your weapons just like jam and fall apart. Okay, las guns are like the best thing in this because they're so reliable. That's what's great about this game, okay? So yeah, so essentially that's what the game is. Now, I'll go through the rule book and I'll put up some stills as I'm going along. So you've got the standard sort of profile of that you would be used to in the Warhammer 40,000, except you've got movement added to it. So you've got weapon skill, strength, toughness, wounds, initiative, attacks, leadership, but you also got your movement value. And your average movement is 4, so 4 inches, but you can run, and certain terrains will slow you down and things like that. Your phases then, it's broken into move, shoot, hand-to-hand, and then recovery phase. The only differences with the recovery phase, naturally I'll read it out to you, is during the recovery phase you can attempt to recover individuals whose nerve is broken. So failed the leadership tests, they're cowering behind obstacles, and yeah, that's the recovery phase. It's like an administration phase. Okay, so the cool thing with this is it allows you to do a lot more. Okay, so naturally you've got a skirmish level game, you've got a smaller number of miniatures, so you can do a lot more. So it reflects that, and straight away it gets into it. There's no messing around with these rules. They get straight into it. So movement, you can move, you can run, you can charge, you can hide your fighters, you can send your guys over all sorts of different terrain. And you can also go into Overwatch. Now, people who like Infinity with the AROs, the automatic reaction order, I think that's what it stands for. So essentially you can act in somebody else's turn. It's always your turn. Whatever. Yeah, it happened in Necromunda. You can do Overwatch. So you can elect to put your guy into Overwatch. The rest of that individual miniature's turn is forfeit, and then during your opponent's turn, you can then fire. Now, again, going back to turn-based games, I take my turn and go with all my miniatures, you take your turn and go with all your miniatures. I generally don't like them. But remember, in a skirmish level game, it works because you're not moving huge armies, okay? You're moving a skirmish, you're moving a skirmish level force, you're moving a gang of guys, 8 to 12 miniatures, so it's not standing around being bored. So turn-based game, in terms of a turn-based system in terms of skirmish, works fine. And like I said, the D6 works great because it's a bunch of freaking gangsters running around fucking each other up. I mean, come on, you know what I mean? So yeah, so then it goes straight into your shooting phase. In this one, your weapons have short range and long range. So same as in second edition, and at long ranges, different weapons have different modifiers. So some weapons are better at close ranges, things like shotguns, and some weapons are worse or better actually at long ranges. So you've got your standard roll to hit. So you roll, you've got your ballistic skill and you roll to hit. However, you've got a lot of to hit modifiers in this. So like I said, if somebody's in hiding, instead of getting a cover save, you have to take a penalty to your to hit roll. So it's harder to shoot him, which makes sense. And also if there's small targets, because you actually get like, you remember like squats and like frickin' space halflings with fuzzy feet and shit running around, and mutants, right? You get little mutants, I guess. Everything's mutants are big. You get little ones. That they affect, if you've got small targets or large targets, they affect your to hit rolls. So cover is a huge thing in this game, naturally, because you don't have a lot of armour. Gangsters can't afford armour. This is the Underhive, people, come on! So then you can go to things like pinning, and actually to wound people in this game is actually quite difficult, because you roll to hit and then you roll to wound, but whenever you wound somebody, you actually roll to see if it actually wounds them or it nicks them. So it still wounded them, but it's just like nicked, like a flesh wound, so they're not really wounded, and that sort of thing. But we'll get into that. So, oh, here we go. It's right here actually. So yeah, so when somebody suffers a wound, you roll a d6, okay, and they can suffer a flesh wound, or they can be down, or they can be out of action. Now, out of action is like you suffered a really severe wound, you're out of it. See ya. You're not coming back into the game. Down is you've been hit, you've been knocked down, you're a bit dazed and confused, and you're a bit out of it, but you have the potential to get back up and keep on going. And a flesh wound is you just suffer penalties to your weapon skill, but you can keep fighting the subsequent turns. Alrighty. So there are exceptions to that, like you get like high impact weapons that can kill you a lot easier. So if you get shot by like a las cannon, which is pretty rare in the Underhive, but if you get shot by a las cannon, it's going to kill you easier. Those are classed as high impact weapons. Normal weapons, you don't really worry about that stuff. Yeah, and you've got pinning and like armour. If you do get armour, if you're willing to spend the points in armour, which is quite expensive, you've got your normal stuff like carapace armour is a 4+ armour, say mesh armour is a 5+, etc. etc. blast weapons in this game are pretty darn awesome, and they go through the rules here for pinned fighters, for blast weapons, flame weapons, and here we get to ammunition rolls. So everything else is pretty similar, but ammunition rolls, this is interesting because remember what I said before about how bolt guns are actually not that great. So when you roll to hit, okay, so rolling a 6 is always a natural success in this game. Okay, so if you roll a 6, however, even though it's a natural success, you have to make an ammunition roll, which I think is really cool. So even though you've done really well, it's like, oh, your weapon's gonna your magazine's gonna explode, or it's fucking jammed. Shit. So you make an ammo roll. Okay, so some weapons are really easy to make ammo rolls on. So like las pistols only require 2+. So because they're so reliable, las guns are brilliant. A las gun again, 2+. So las rifle, las pistol, it's only a 2+. Whereas a bolt gun needs a 6. So, because they have to be maintained. Now, bearing in mind, if you find a bolt gun lying around the Underhive, or manage to smuggle it in somehow, it's not going to be well maintained. It's going to be fucked. It's going to be all rusty and shitty, and the ammunition's going to be shitty, and yeah, it's not good. So it's kind of a difficult one to balance. And things like you've got like your heavy stubber, which is like a machine gun, right? And they require 4+. That's average. Yeah, and then you've got certain things that fail automatically, like flamethrowers, motherfuckers! Yes! So imagine a flamethrower, just oh, that's brilliant, yeah. So flamethrowers automatically fail, grenades automatically fail. Yeah, so you see what I mean about a D6 system working? Because everything just goes fucking wrong. Like, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna plan this brilliant battle, I should drop a grenade, fuck! So it's like, shit just starts getting wrong. It's jammed, fucking grenade, half your team's dead. And it fits. That's the thing, is it fits, okay? It's not like random shit just happening with trained soldiers with, perfectly maintained weapons and armour. It's random shit happening to a bunch of gangsters running around in the Underhive with really bad weapons, with fucking dodgy fuses and grenades, little fucking mutants, and it just fits, okay? Then you get to hand-to-hand combat. Hand-to-hand combat is... yeah. It works pretty much the same as most Warhammer if you've played that. So you've got the number of attacks, the number of dice you throw. You get an extra attack for charging. Yeah, and it is pretty lethal again because if it's your turn, you both fight in the hand-to-hand phase. If it's his turn, you both fight in the hand-to-hand phase. It makes it more lethal. So it is more lethal. But you've got cool modifiers. Again, you've got cool modifiers. Things like if your opponent's higher up than you, he gets a bonus, and if you're low down, you obviously get a minus to your hit score. You can be encumbered, so if you're carrying loads of equipment, you get a -1 penalty, which is great. Yeah. So, and then it goes into all the critical hits. Oh, and then you got really interesting stuff like you can parry, you can fumble in hand-to-hand combat. Fighters down. So if somebody's been down earlier from a shooting attack and you run up to him and you want to kick him in the fucking pants, like Chris says, in the pants, then you can do that. Okay. And the main thing in this game is that the main way you'll win, you'll lose, is your gang will break. So as soon as your gang starts taking too many casualties, you've got to start taking leadership tests. Because gangsters they're not gonna hang around. They're not stoic space marines on the field of battle. Yes, they're not gonna hang around. They're gonna be like, fuck, cheers, we're out of here. Take your freaking bolt gun. See ya. So a lot of the time your gang will run away. Okay, so you'll normally take like 30% casualties, and the rest of you guys are like, yeah, we're out of here. Okay, so that's a lot of the time the big decider in games, is you only have to inflict a few casualties before you start making these leadership tests, okay? But again, to try and minimise the casualties, you have to use cover really well. You have to, really plan things out in this game when you fight against your opponents. Yeah, so yeah, here we go, 25%, the bottle test. So 25% of like 10 guys. What's that? 2-3 guys? That's, that's all you're gonna take. And your dudes are like, cheers, we've had enough. Then they go into advanced rules, so that's like all the basic rules. So now you got stuff like falling, you can jump between terrain pieces. And Games Workshop actually used to release a terrain set for this. If you bought the Necromunda standard set, it came with all this really cool terrain. I think you can probably get it off eBay now. I need to try and get it, but that's always the thing with skirmish games, right? Is terrain is difficult to get. So they've so in the advanced section they've got stray shots. Oh, one of the things I forgot to mention, you can fire into close combat in this, You can't do it in like other Warhammer games, but you can fire into close combat. Yes! Yes! Expendable troops! That's what we like to hear. Awesome. Okay, so more advanced rules, things like wild grenades bouncing all over the place and attacking structures. Ooh. Then they got like the special rule equivalent: frenzy, hatred, stupidity, fear, blah 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 blah. So it's a very short section. They go into the armory. Now this is where the shit gets fun. So pretty much every single weapon in this, it does actually. Every single weapon pretty much has its own special rules. I mean, you've got you've got the weapon strength, how much damage it does actually, so how many wounds it does. Then you've got the save modifier. So again, how irrelevant armor is. So even if you've got like carapace armor, a lot of weapons have minuses to minuses to your armor. So it's armor's pretty irrelevant. Yeah, and then most weapons will have. I mean, all weapons will have their all range weapons will have their jamming check, for want of a better term. I forget the actual term for it. And then things like swords and that you can parry in hand-to-hand combat. They give you your short and long ranges and your modifiers. So yeah, and you get all sorts. They give you all sorts of exotic weapons just in the like needle pistols. Like what do they do? Oh, they can sedate you, or comatose you, or just kill you. Yes. So they got a lot of really cool stuff in here, just in the rules. And weapons are broken down into like you've got hand-to-hand weapons, pistols, basic weapons, special weapons, and then heavy weapons. And also grenades. Now this is relevant for when you pick your fighters, because leaders can normally pick from special weapons, the special weapons section, whereas normal troops can normally go for basic weapons. And heavies, which are a kind of troop as well, can go for heavy weapons. So they're like a specific kind of big meaty freak that can carry a fucking machine gun around in the Underhive. So you pay for different classes of soldier in this, which is pretty cool. You get a whole bunch of different kinds of grenades, different kinds of ammunitions, armors, bionics, which is always fun. Bionic fucking legs to kick people in their pants, bionic arms, bionic fucking dinosaur arms, eyes. Yeah. Oh man, blind snake pouch. The blind snake pouch. I'm not going to tell you anything about it. You have to buy this rulebook to find out what the blind snake pouch is. I'm not going to tell you. Yeah, so they got really the special equipment goes on loads. The 1 in a million weapon, a skull chip, a rat skin map, respirators, obviously. Yeah. And then they go into a bit of background. So they explain like I don't know if you can see it all over from here, like the hive worlds and all that sort of stuff. Just give you the background of the way that the hive works, all the stuff I explained at the start. And then they go into different houses, right? The different gangs. So you've got like all these different gangs. Each one have unique traits and a very unique look. So like Goliath are like big meaty freaks. I play Goliath. You got like Delark, which are like all wear trench coats and have like shades on. They're like assassins. Then you got the trucker gang. Yeah, House Orlock. They're like trucker biker dudes. And you got like the all girl gangs, and so there's a whole bunch of different gangs in here. And each one of them, if you're just playing like once-off games, it doesn't make that much of a difference. But if you're playing campaigns, that's when you get like skill trees. So different gangs will advance in different ways. So that reflects in like your abilities. In terms of your stat line will advance in a certain way, and your gang members will get certain abilities like unlocked as you gain experience throughout a campaign. So if you're just playing once-off games, it doesn't really matter, but if you're playing campaigns, it's very important. So yeah, they give you all the rosters and everything you need for your gangs, how to create a gang, and it's not in points, sorry, everything's in credits, so you pay credits. So gang leader is 120 credits to recruit. A normal gang, they call them gangers, right? A normal ganger is 50 credits, a heavy is 60 credits, and you got to tack on all the cost of weapons and stuff after that. So yeah, that's the way it goes. And then each house is allowed certain weapons. Like some houses just naturally are more advanced and have access to better stuff than other gangs, whereas those gangs don't have access to better stuff, might be more focused on hand-to-hand combat, things like that. Okay, so they've got a whole section dedicated to running campaigns, and this is really what makes. I mean, Necromunda is a very fun game to play, just once off, but when you start running campaigns, it gets really good. Like it is excellent. And as a matter of fact, actually I'll say that at the end, but it gets really good because that's when you can start advancing your gangs. You get all sorts of different skill tables, like you get skill trees for agility, combat, ferocity, muscle, shooting, stealth and techno, and different gangs can unlock different ones. Like for example, my gang, the Goliaths, are good. The normal gangers can unlock combat, ferocity and muscle. That's like their thing. Whereas other gangs can unlock different skill trees, and those give you different abilities. For example, if I go into my gang, say the combat skill tree, 1 to 6, these are like separate skills. Things like a combat master, +1 to weapon skill. Things like counterattack, things like a parry. So it's all like close combat stuff. So you like make rolls when you gain experience, for you guys to get different skills, in addition to having the actual stat line go up, which I think is really cool. And it's really fun. Yeah, and they've got rules for like territory and how you go about getting credits in a campaign, which I think is really cool. And you get like different kinds of territory as well. So like when you start off in a campaign, you roll for the kind of territory that you start off in, and it can be a lot of fun. I mean, you can completely fuck yourself over if the roll goes badly, but hey, that's the way it goes, right? Second edition, man. There's no, yeah, there's no trophy for second place in this game. Woo! Things for like trading posts. So in between games, you can like visit the trading post and like cash in credits. I gotta capture the mini mutant. I'm gonna swap him out for a less pistol. Woo! It's just fun. This I find this fun, and I haven't met anybody that doesn't find this game fun. I mean, whew. Hired guns. You can hire mercenaries. Freaking cool. Yeah, and they got more rules here. They got scenarios at the end. Now, here we go. Summary sheets again. Okay, so and the summary sheets, they've got everything you need. So the thing is Games Workshop don't support specialist games anymore. So to get the miniatures, you have to go on like eBay, but that's only if you want the miniatures specific to these gangs. Like, it's so you can proxy stuff, and it's not like, don't feel bad for proxying. You don't have to feel bad, because you can get like stray guards that capture Imperial Guard equipment, buy a box of fucking guardsmen. You know what I mean? And this is the thing as well, okay, it's not just this rulebook. You can get this for free online, okay? I got given this physical copy like years ago. You can get this for free online. You can download it. I'm going to put a link into the description below where you can download the rulebook for free, okay? They did an updated version of all the skill trees because they're a bit unbalanced in the first edition, or the first rendition of these rules, alright? They did an updated version of the skill tree, and this is the best thing about, or one of my favourite things about this game, is that the amount of extra shit that's out there for free, and this is not like unofficial stuff, this is stuff that was released officially by Games Workshop in PDF format, and you can get it all on the side. I'll put the link to for free. It's like, you can have alt gangs, or you can have like the Ash Wastes, the guys that come from the wastelands outside the gangs, or you can have enforcer gangs, or you can have these fucking freaks that use flamethrowers. They're like religious fanatics. There's a metric shit ton of this stuff. There's I can't remember how many PDFs there's, like 50 or something PDFs, different scenarios, weapons, new skill trees, and there's all official stuff. This is made up. This is all by Games Workshop. Rules for extra gangs. You can have attack dogs. There's fucking loads of stuff. There's like the scenario where you play co-op and you got to like venture down and try and find this weird beast that's been like attacking settlements, and you got to like kill this huge fucking beast, like you and another gang. Cool stuff like that, and it's all official. Okay, that's what I love about this game. Okay, it's a game that fits. People that have seen my videos before will know that I've complained about a D6 system and going from a very light-hearted, fun Rogue Trader 2nd edition and then switching to very serious but keeping the old system. It just doesn't match up. Whereas this, it makes sense. Like, it makes sense. You can think like, yeah, gangs, things are going to get messed up, right? You know, a D6 system, a really random system makes sense. It fits, okay? It fits the bill. It's a fun game. It's a skirmish game. It's one of my favourite games. It's a lot of other people's favourite game. And it's so easy to pick up because you don't need to spend a lot of money. I think that's one of the reasons Games Workshop abandoned this. But anyway, I'm rambling. So my final thoughts on Necromunda. Skirmish game, D6 based, Battles in the Underhive. It is, if you are a fan of tabletop gaming, most people would have heard of this already, but if you are a fan of Warhammer 40,000 and you haven't played this game, wow, you're missing out. You're missing out on life. Seriously, this is a good game. It needs a play, and it's so easy to get into. Buy a box of fucking guardsmen or whatever. It's easy to get into. Okay, like you don't need to invest a lot of money. It is a good game. I would highly recommend it. A lot of the miniatures are collector's items now. The feel to this game is brilliant. They capture the feel. They capture the setting and the essence of battles in the Underhive. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed the review and take care.